All these other people.
All right, we're good.
Good afternoon. Probate court number 2 is in session. Honorable Pamela Medina presiding.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I called cause number 509-762 in the estate of Juan Martin del Campo Jr. on application of probate of will as amendment of title. Mr. Gutierrez, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, we are. I called Joseph del Campo.
Okay.
The first
Let
witness.
me go ahead and do one thing. I'm sorry
Sure.
I didn't think about this, but what I'd like to do is to have everyone that is present and will be giving testimony. If you could please unmute yourself and raise your right hand.
In this case or any of them?
All of them, any and all, if you're giving testimony this afternoon. Thank you. And unmute yourself so I can hear the I do.
I do.
Okay, hold on
I
one
do.
second. I'm gonna have to swear you in, and after I state what I'm asking for you to swear to, then you'll say I do. Okay. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
Thank you so much. Okay, Mr. Gutierrez, you may proceed.
All right, thank you, Judge. Mr. Joseph del Campo, please state your name again.
Joseph Del Campo.
Right, and you are the applicant and son of Juan Martin del Campo Jr.
Yes, I am.
And he died April the 11th, 2022 in Houston, Harris County, Texas.
Yes, that is correct.
All right. He was a resident of this county and had a fixed place of domicile here in the state and county.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And there were no children. I'm sorry, the document that you provided previously, which is an original will, is dated April the 6th, 2017. And we submitted that. To your knowledge, that was your father's will.
Yes,
Okay, and to your knowledge, it was never revoked.
that is correct.
All right. It was subscribed to and witnessed by Angelita Almendarez and Diana Rivera. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
There were no children born or adopted by your father after the execution of this will.
No,
And to your best knowledge, there is no unsecured or unpaid debts owing in this estate. So,
no,
all right. Your father was never divorced.
no, he was not.
All right. And the will does not list a government agency or a charity as a beneficiary under the will.
No, it does not.
Okay. And you're asking the court to waive any affidavit requiring you, a sworn affidavit requiring you that the terms of this will have been fulfilled.
Yes,
All right, thank you. And you're asking this court to approve this will and admit it as a muniment of title.
yes, that's correct.
All right. I have no further questions of this witness, Your Honor. So,
Thank
I
you,
have
Mr.
one further question. I'm sorry. And your father was never did receive Medicare benefits. Is that correct?
No, he did not.
All right. I'm sorry, Medicaid benefits.
Medicaid, no, he did
Right.
not.
Right. Okay. And you've applied for the MREP certificate. Is that
Yes, yes, I have.
Okay. I have no further questions of this witness.
Okay, the court takes judicial notice of the original will on file.
All right. I call James Del Campo.
Yes, sir.
I was going to actually probate the will. Mr. Gutierrez, it's just a short matter.
Okay.
After hearing testimony, the court finds the will of Juan Martin del Campo Jr. dated April 6, 2017 constitutes a valid will and that there is no necessity for the administration of the estate. The court admits the will of Juan Martin del Campo Jr. to probate as a monument of title. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We have no further witnesses, Your Honor.
Thank you. And I call cause number 509-763 in the estate of Gloria del Campo on application of probate of wills and letters testamentary. You may proceed, Mr. Gutierrez.
Thank you. Say, Mr. Del Campo, Joseph Del Campo.
Yes,
Okay, so you are the applicant and the son of Gloria L. Del Campo, your mother.
yes, I am.
And she died here in Houston, Harris County on July 1st, 2022.
Yes,
Okay, and she was a resident here in Harris County and had a fixed place of domicile here in Harris County and the state of Texas.
yes, that's correct.
All right. And the document that you had previously provided, an original will, was dated April 6, 2017, which we submitted to the court.
Yes,
And to your knowledge, it never was revoked.
that's correct.
All
It never
right.
was.
All right. And there is I will ask the court to take judicial notice of the document that was previously filed with the court.
Or takes judicial notice of the original will on file.
Thank you. And there is a necessity for the administration of this estate in your mother's case.
Yes,
And there were no children born or adopted by your mother after the execution of this will.
no, there was not.
Okay, and your mother was never divorced from your father.
No, she was not.
All right. Okay, and there is no state or government agency or a charitable organization that is a beneficiary of this will.
No, there's not.
Let's see. You were named as an independent executor in addition to your two brothers, James M. Del Campo and Juan M. Del Campo, also known as John Del Campo. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And you are asking this court, there is no reason that for you, excuse me, there's no reason for you to not be qualified to accept letter testamentary in this case.
That's correct.
All right. You're asking this court to approve, admit the will to probate and to appoint you and your Juan Del Campo and James Del Campo as co-executors under the will, as specified under the will.
Yes, that is correct.
I have no further questions of this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Gutierrez, is this are you requesting the court to waive the necessity of appraisers?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
After hearing the testimony, the court finds that the will of Gloria L. Del Campo dated April 6, 2017 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Joseph M. Del Campo, James M. Del Campo, and Juan M. Del Campo III were named in co-executors, independent co-executors. The will is admitted to probate, and I'm sorry, I probably said 3 names. Is it just 2?
No,
Joseph
Your
and
Honor,
James?
there is 3 names.
Okay.
That's Joseph, James, and John.
Okay.
Juan, also known as John, which is stated in the order, yes.
The will is admitted to probate, and Joseph M. Del Campo, James M. Del Campo, and Juan M. Del Campo III, aka John M. Del Campo III, are appointed co-independent executors to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. And Mr. Del Campo, I'm so sorry for the loss of both of your parents, but thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yes.
Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. Is there anything else? I'm signing the order right now.
No, Your Honor, that's,
Okay. You, Mr. Gutierrez, you and your clients are excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Have a good day. I call cause number 510206 in the state of George Brody Olmedo, AKA George Olmedo.
Esteban
the
Martinez,
application.
sorry.
On application of probate of will as amendment of title. And Esteban Martinez, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor. I have
Thank you.
two witnesses, well, three witnesses, the applicant, and then two witnesses.
Okay, okay. So were your witnesses all sworn in this morning or earlier today, rather?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may proceed, Mr. Martinez.
Okay, I'll start with the first witness, Sally Scopian.
Yes, sir.
Can you please state your name for the record?
Sally Ann Scopian.
Okay, and you were personally acquainted with George Brody Omeda, who died on May 11th, 2018?
Yes, sir.
And do you stand to inherit any property from him or his estate?
No, sir.
And you were very familiar with his handwriting, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I am showing you a copy of the will that was submitted to the court. Do you recognize this document?
I recognize it.
And you recognize the signature at the bottom as being that signature of George Omeda?
Yes, sir.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge, at the time that he executed this will on August 14, 1991, was he of sound mind, at least 18 years of age?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I pass this witness.
Thank you. As well, the court takes judicial notice of the original will on file.
Okay, I'll call the second witness, Tony McCloskey. Can you please state your name for the record?
Tony McCloskey.
And were you personally acquainted with George Brody Omeda, who died on May 11, 2018?
Yes, sir.
And do you stand to inherit any property from Mr. Omeda or his estate?
No, sir.
Were you very familiar with his handwriting? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I am showing you a copy of the will that was submitted to the court. Do you recognize the document and that signature at the bottom?
Yes, sir.
And that is the signature of George Brody Omeda, is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, to the best of your knowledge, at the time that he executed this will on August 14, 1991, was he of sound mind, at least 18 years of age?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I pass this witness.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll call my next witness, Diana Lynn Omeda. Can you please state your name for the record?
It's Diana Landale,
And where do you reside?
Harris County,
And what is your relationship to George Brody Omeda?
with my husband.
Mr. Omeda passed away on May 11, 2018 in Harris County, and 4 years have elapsed since the date of his death. Is that correct?
Correct.
And he was a resident of Harris County at the time of his death.
Correct.
And I'm showing you a copy of the will that was submitted to the court. It's dated August 14, 1991. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And you recognize the signature on the document?
Yes, sir.
And this is a George Omeda signature, is that correct?
Correct.
Since Mr. Omeda made this will on August 14th, 1991, did he ever revoke or change the will to the best of your knowledge?
No, sir.
Chelsea Ray Omeda was born to Mr. Omeda after he made this will, is that correct?
That's correct.
And Mr. Omeda never divorced after making this will, is that correct?
Correct.
And he was married to you at the time of his death in 2018, is that correct?
Correct.
Other than you, Jessica Omeda Choi, and Chelsea Ray Omeda, did Mr. Omeda have any other children or any other heirs?
No, sir.
No state or governmental agency or charity is named as beneficiary in the will, is that correct?
Correct.
Does the estate have any unpaid debts or any debts not secured by real estate?
No, sir.
And Mr. Omita did not apply for Medicaid benefits after March 1st, 2005. Is that correct?
Correct.
And there is no necessity for an administration of this estate. Is that correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, we ask that the will be admitted as a muniment of title.
Thank
And-
you.
Okay, and that the court waive the affidavit of fulfillment of the terms.
Thank you.
Thank you.
After
Your-
hear, you're welcome. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of George Brody Almeida, aka George Almeida, constitutes a valid will, and there is no necessity for the administration of the estate. The court admits the will to probate as monument of title only, and as well waives the affidavit of fulfillment of terms. And finding that there, Mr. Esteban, and you and your clients may be excused. Ms. Almeida, I do want to express my sincere condolences for the loss of your husband.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
Thank
Your
you,
Honor.
Mr. Martinez. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
I call cause number 511048 in the estate of Patricia M. Hendricks on application of probate of will and letters of testamentary. Ms. Stanley, are you ready to proceed?
We are ready, Your Honor.
Okay, and everybody's been sworn in.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may proceed.
All right, can you please state your name for the court?
Christopher G. Hendricks.
And are you a resident of Texas?
I am.
And you are the husband of Patricia M. Hendricks, the
Yes.
deceased in this cause. Did she die on September 17th, 2022 at the age of 79?
She did.
And was she a resident of Harris County, Texas at the time of her death?
She was.
And you've seen a copy of her purported last will and testament dated June 9th, 2020, and you recognized it.
Yes.
And to the best of your knowledge, did she ever revoke this will?
No.
Your Honor, we do ask that you take judicial notice that the original will is on file with your court.
Thank you. The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file.
Thank you, Your Honor. And in her last will and testament, she named you to serve as independent executor. Is there any reason you would be disqualified to serve?
No.
Were there any children born to or adopted by her after she signed the will?
No.
Did she have a marriage dissolved after she
No.
signed the will? Did she name the state of Texas or a governmental agency of the state of Texas or a charitable organization as a beneficiary in her will?
No.
And does there now exist a necessity to administer this estate?
Yes.
And so you're asking the court to appoint you as independent executor and issue letters testamentary in this cause, correct?
Yes.
And Your Honor, it is a non-taxable estate, so we do ask that you waive appraisers.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hendricks, I apologize. I'm so sorry rather for the loss of your wife, and thank you so much for your time here today. After hearing, you're welcome. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Patricia M. Hendricks dated June 9th, 2020 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Christopher G. Hendricks was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Christopher G. Hendricks is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. And I'm signing the order now, Ms. Stanley, and if you have nothing further, you may be excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. I call cause number 511097 in the estate of Patricia M. Speetson on application of probate of will and letters of testamentary. Ms. Butts, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, I am, Judge.
Thank you.
Ms. Price, will you please state your full name for the court?
Tammy Speetson Price,
And what is your relationship to Patricia M. Speetson?
daughter.
And did your mother pass away on October 13th in 2022 in Harris County, Texas, at the age of 81?
Yes,
And at the time that she passed away, was she domiciled, and did she have a fixed place of residence here in Harris County, Texas?
yes,
To the best of your knowledge, did she pass away leaving a will?
yes,
The document we submitted for probate was dated June 9th, 2017, and purported to be your mother's will. Is that correct?
yes,
And to the best of your knowledge, was that document ever revoked?
no,
And is it true that the will names your father to serve as the independent executor?
Yes.
And is it true that he has declined to so serve?
Yes.
And is it true that the will named you and your brother Brett to serve as alternate independent co-executors?
Yes.
And isn't it true that Brett has also declined to so serve?
Yes.
And is it true that the will provided that if neither Arthur nor Brett were willing to so serve, then you would serve as the independent executor of your mother's estate?
Yes.
And are you willing and able to so serve?
Yes.
And are you qualified and not disqualified from serving?
Qualified.
And did this will name any state, governmental agency of the state, or charitable organization as a devisee?
No.
And after the will was signed, and that was just for your recollection, June 9th, 2017, were any marriages of your mother dissolved after that date?
No.
And were any children born or adopted by your mother after that date?
No.
And does a necessity exist for the administration of this estate? In other words, we need to collect the assets, pay bills, and distribute what remains to your father. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you for your testimony. And Your Honor, based upon the testimony, we request that you admit the last will and testament of Patricia M. Speetson to probate and appoint Tammy L. Price, as she did, to serve as the independent executor to serve without bond. And this is a non-taxable estate, we believe. Consequently, we request that you waive appraisers.
All right, thank you so much. The court also takes judicial notice of the original will on file. After hearing the testimony, the court finds the will of Patricia M. Speetson dated June 9th, 2017 to constitute a valid will. Further, the court finds that Tammy L. Price, aka Tammy Speetson Price, was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Tammy Speetson Price is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity. Appraisers. Ms. Speetson Price, I do sincerely send my condolences to you and your family for the loss of your mother. Thank you as well for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. You're excused, Ms. Butts. I call cause number 509081 in the estate of Ann Doring Krennick on application of probate of will and letters testamentary. Mr. Doring, are you ready to proceed?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I am Mr. Doring's Associate Attorney, Andrew Dinwiddie.
Thank you. And has your witness been sworn in today?
I don't believe he has. Dale Krennick is his name.
Dale. Okay, Mr. Krennick, if you could please raise your right hand and unmute yourself.
Dale, can you unmute yourself?
There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Krennick. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, I do.
Thank you, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. I didn't remember. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you please say your name for the court?
Robert Dale Krennick.
And what was your relationship to the decedent?
I was her husband.
Is it true that the decedent Ann Doring Krennick died on or about May 25th, 2022 in Portland, Multnomah County, Oregon at the age of 73 years?
Yes, it is.
And 4 years have not elapsed since her date of death. Is that correct?
Correct.
And she was not domiciled or had a fixed place of residence here in Harris County. However, she did own property here in Harris County. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And the document dated February 7th, 2017, which purports to be her will, was that ever revoked so far as you know?
No, it was not.
And her will was made self-proved in the manner prescribed by Oregon law. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, we would like to take the court to take judicial notice that the original of the decedent's will is on file with the court.
The court takes judicial notice that the original will is on file. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Does a necessity exist for the administration of this estate?
No,
I'll repeat the question. Does a necessity exist for the administration of the estate? Do we need to sell real property, things like that?
yes. Well, we do not immediately, but yes,
Were any children born to or adopted by the decedent after the date of the will?
no,
Was any marriage ever dissolved after the will was executed?
no,
Did the decedent name you to serve as her executor?
yes, she did.
And are you qualified and not disqualified to serve as her executor?
Yes, I am.
And her will did not name the state, a governmental agency of the state, or a charitable organization as a beneficiary of any bequests in the will. Is that correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, we request that this will be admitted to probate, that Robert Dale Krennic be appointed as the independent executor to serve without bond. It's a non-taxable estate, so we ask that appraisers be waived.
Thank you. Okay. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Anne Doreen Krennic dated February 7th, 2017 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Robert Dale Krennic was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate and Robert Dale Krennic is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. Mr. Krennic, thank you so much for your time today, and I'm so sorry for the loss of your wife.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Dinwiddie. You are excused if you have nothing further.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I think that was it.
I call cause number 511-209 on application of probate of will and letters of testamentary and the estate of Bonnie Luan Howe. Mr. Bear, are you ready to proceed?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Andrew McCarty, I'm an associate of Mr. Baird.
Okay, are your witnesses here and have they been sworn in today?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Lehman is here and he did have some technical difficulties getting in, so I think he missed the initial swearing in.
Okay, if you can unmute Mr. Lehman and raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. McCarty.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Lehman. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
Will you please state your name for the court?
John David Lehman,
And what was your relationship to Miss Bonnie Luan Howe?
son-in-law.
Okay. Did Miss Howe pass away on October 22nd, 2022 in Houston, Harris County, Texas?
Yes,
And is it true that not less than 4 years have elapsed? Is it true that not more than 4 years have elapsed since the date of her passing?
that is correct.
And is it true that at the time of her passing, Miss Howe was domiciled in and had a fixed place of residence in Harris County?
Yes,
Your Honor, at this time, I would ask that the court show the will on the screen.
Okay, I don't actually have a copy of the will right at hand. Mr. McCartney, do you?
I can
And
continue.
I can stop sharing if you.
I can continue and
Okay, hold on one second. My clerk just said she has access. Hold on one second.
thank you, Your Honor.
I'll stop sharing. Am I sharing? All right, Mr. McCartney, I think you are able to see the.
Yes, Your Honor, I can see it. Mr. Lehman, do you recognize this document before you dated April 2nd, 2007 as Ms. Howe's last will and testament?
Yes,
And is it true that Ms. Howe never revoked this will?
that is correct.
And at the time she made this will, was she over the age of 18 and of a sound mind?
Yes,
And is it true that no marriage of Ms. Howe's was dissolved after she made this will, whether by a divorce or a declaration that the marriage was void or annulled?
that is correct.
And is it true that no children were born to or adopted by Ms. Howe after the date she executed this will?
Yes,
And the will then names you, John David Lehman, to serve as the independent executor of Ms. Howe's estate. Is that true?
yes,
And the will states that you will serve in that capacity without bond or other security. Is that correct?
yes,
Are you disqualified to serve in that capacity?
no,
And is there any reason that you would be disqualified to serve?
no,
And is it true that Ms. Howe's will does not name the state of Texas or a governmental agency of the state of Texas or a charitable organization as a devisee?
yes,
And is it true that there is a necessity for the administration of Ms. Howe's estate?
yes,
Are you asking that the court admit Ms. Howe's will to probate and appoint you as independent executor to serve without bond and that appraisers be waived?
yes,
Your Honor, at this time, we request that the last will and testament of Bonnie Lawan Howe dated April 2nd, 2007 be admitted to probate, that John David Lehman be appointed to serve as independent executor of Ms. Howe's estate without bond and that appraisers be waived.
Thank you. The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Bonnie Luan Howe dated April 2nd, 2007 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that John David Lehman was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate and John David Lehman is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. I'll sign the order now. Mr. Lehman, thank you so much for your time today, and I'm sorry for the loss of your mother-in-law.
thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. McCartney. You're excused as well as Mr. Lehman.
Thank you.
I call cause number 510486 in the estate of Carol K. Ognoski on application of probated will and letters testamentary. Ms. Peavy, are you ready to proceed?
I think she's muted.
Thank you.
I can hear you now, Ms. Peavy.
Oh, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I
Ms.
call
Chad,
Mary Beth Sharts.
Yes,
and she's already been sworn in, correct?
Yes.
You may proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary, is it true that Carol Kognoski died on June 23rd of 2022 in Houston, Harris County at the
Yes,
age
ma'am.
of 65?
yes, ma'am.
And 4 years have not elapsed since that date.
No, ma'am.
Carol was a resident of Harris County and had a fixed place of residence in Harris County. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
The document you're now looking at on the screen was dated March 21st, 06. And to the best of your knowledge, was that ever revoked?
No, ma'am.
And it's your understanding that there is a necessity for the administration of this estate.
Yes, ma'am.
To the best of your knowledge, no children were born or adopted by Carol after the execution of this will,
No, ma'am.
and the decedent was never divorced.
No, ma'am.
The will itself does not state give anything to a state, government agency, or charitable organizations.
Correct.
Okay. And she did not receive Medicaid benefits on or before March 1st, 2005.
No, ma'am.
In the will, Viola Ognoski is named as the independent executor However, Viola is deceased. And you are named the first successor independent executor.
Yes, ma'am.
You're not a convicted felon, and as such, you're qualified and not disqualified by law from accepting letters testamentary.
This is correct.
Your Honor, I ask that you take judicial notice of the original will, which has been filed with your court.
Thank
And
you.
that Mary Beth has been named successor, independent executor is named in the will.
Thank you. The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Carol K. Ognoski, dated March 21st, 2006, constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Mary Beth Check was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Mary Beth Check is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. Ms. Check, I'm sorry for the loss of your cousin, but thank you for your time here today.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Ms. Peavy.
You're welcome. Ms. Peavy, I'm signing your order now, and you may be excused along with your client.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Thank
Have a
you.
great afternoon.
You too.
I call cause number 511075 in the estate of Alice Colleen McCullough on application of probate of will and letters testamentary. Mr. Kazin, are you ready to proceed? He's on mute.
Okay, I found it. Yes, Your Honor, we're ready to proceed.
Okay, and your witness has been sworn in?
I believe that Patrick had some technical issues, so he may not have been.
Okay.
I am present now.
All right, thank you, Patrick. I'm going to swear you in. So what I need you to do is raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Okay, Your Honor, I call Greg McCullough. Greg, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, Greg, will you state your full name for the court, please?
Greg Ross McCullough.
And was Alice Colleen McCullough your mother?
She was.
And did your mother pass away on August 22nd, 2022 at the age of 95 years?
That is correct.
And therefore her date of death was not more than 4 years ago, is that correct?
Yes.
And at the time of her death, did your mother have a fixed place of residence in Harris County?
She did.
Now, you provided me with a document dated November 14, 2016, which we filed with the application to this court. And so they have the original of that document. Was that document that you provided to me the last will and testament of your mother, Alice Colleen McCullough?
Yes.
And to the best of your knowledge, had she ever revoked that will?
No.
And you also provided to me an original document dated November 9th, 2017, which purports to be Alice Colleen McCullough's first codicil to her last will that we also filed with the application in this proceeding. And to the best of your knowledge, was that in fact her codicil to her will?
Yes.
And to the best of your knowledge, did she ever revoke that codicil?
No.
And does a necessity exist for the administration of this estate?
Yes, it does.
And after the date of the will or the codicil and the codicil, were any children born to or adopted by your mother?
No.
Was any marriage of your mother's dissolved after the date of the will and codicil?
No.
Is the state of Texas or a government agency of the state or a charity named in the will or codicil as a devisee?
No.
And the codicil names you, Greg Ross McCullough, as well as Patrick George McCullough and Michael Allen McCullough to serve as co-independent executors without bond. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And are you over the age of 18?
I am.
Do you live here in the state of Texas?
I do.
Have you ever been convicted of a felony?
No.
Is there any other reason you can think of why this court might find you unsuitable to serve as independent executor of this estate?
No.
And therefore, are you qualified and also not disqualified from accepting the letters testamentary?
I am.
Okay, thank you. And that's all I have for this witness, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kazin. You may proceed with your second witness.
Thank you. Your Honor, I call Patrick McCullough. Pat, you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, hi, Pat. Will you state your full name for the record, please?
Patrick George McCullough.
Okay, and you heard the questions that I asked your brother Greg with regard to your mother's date of death and residency and the identification of her will and codicil. And do you agree with all those questions that I asked Greg?
Yes,
And so insofar as your qualification to serve as co-independent executor, let me ask you some questions. Are you over the age of 18?
yes,
Do you live here in the state of Texas?
I do not.
Have you appointed a resident agent to accept service of process with respect to this estate?
Yes,
And we filed that appointment, is that correct?
yes,
Have you ever been convicted of a felony?
no,
Is there any reason why the court might find you unsuitable to serve as co-independent executor?
no,
And therefore, are you qualified and also not disqualified from accepting letters testamentary?
yes.
Thank you, Patrick. And that's all I have for that witness, Your Honor. And I have one more.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Kazin.
Thank you. Michael McCullough, are you there?
I am.
Okay, Mike, can you give your full name for the record, please?
Michael Allen McCullough.
And with regard to the questions that I posed to your two brothers regarding your mother's residency and the date that she passed away and the identification of her will and codicil, do you agree with the answers they gave to all of those questions?
Yes,
And with respect to your qualifications, are you over the age of 18?
I am.
Now, do you live here in the state of Texas?
No, I do not.
But have you appointed a resident agent to accept service of process with respect to the estate?
Yes,
And is it correct that the appointment's been filed in this proceeding?
yes,
Have you ever been convicted of a felony?
no,
Is there any reason why the court might find you unsuitable to serve as a co-independent executor of this estate?
no,
And therefore, are you qualified and also not disqualified from accepting letters testamentary?
yes.
Thank you, Michael. And Your Honor, that's all I have for that witness. I would ask that the court take judicial notice of the original will and codicil that are in the court's file, and we would also request a waiver of the necessity for appraisers.
Thank you. The court takes judicial notice of the original will as well as the original codicil on file. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will dated November 14th, 2016, and the codicil dated November 9th, 2017 are valid. Further, the court finds that Greg Ross McCullough, Patrick George McCullough, and Michael Allen McCullough were named in the codicil to serve as independent co-executors. The will is admitted to probate, and George Ross McCullough, Patrick George McCullough, and Michael Allen McCullough appointed as independent co-executors to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. Mr. McCullough, I apologize. I'm so sorry for the loss of your mother, and thank you again for your time here today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Welcome.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's all we have.
Okay, Mr. Kazin, I'm signing the order presently, and you may be excused if you have nothing further before the court today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. I call cause number 511123 in the estate of Stephen Thomas Grabowski on application of probate of will and letters testamentary. Ms. Paul, are you ready to proceed?
Present, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Mark Mason Grabowski is your, okay. And Mr. Grabowski, were you previously sworn in?
Yes, I was.
All right, Ms. Paul, you may proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Grabowski, would you state your full name for Judge Medina, please?
Mark Mason Grabowski.
And Mr. Grabowski, Stephen Thomas Grabowski was your father, is that correct?
That is correct.
And he passed away on October the 22nd, 2022 in Kingwood, Texas at the age of 79, and 4 years have not elapsed since the date of his death. Is that correct?
Those are both correct, yes.
All right. And this court has jurisdiction over your father's estate, and that his domicile was in Harris County, Texas at the time of his death. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. You provided me with an original document which purported to be your father's last will and testament, which was signed on November the 8th, 2018. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Your Honor, that is the will that is on file with the court at this time, and we ask that you take judicial notice of that.
The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Grabowski, after your father signed this will, to your knowledge, was it ever revoked by him?
It was not.
All right. And no state governmental agency of the state or charitable organization was named as a devotee under this will. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And no children were born or adopted by your father after the signing of this will. Is that correct?
Yes.
And no marriage was dissolved after the signing of the will. Is that correct?
Yes.
And there's a need for administration of your father's estate. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And your dad asked that you serve as the independent executor of his estate and to serve without bond. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is there any reason that you would be disqualified after going over all of the disqualification? Is there any reason that you would be disqualified and unable to serve as the independent executor?
No.
All right. And do you reside in Texas?
No.
And you filed an appointment of a resident agent. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And are you asking the judge to admit your father's will into probate, to issue you letters of testamentary and appoint you as the independent executor of his estate to serve without bond? And Your Honor, it's a non-taxable estate, so we would ask that appraisers be waived.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds the will of Stephen Thomas Grabowski dated November 8th, 2018 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Mark Mason Grabowski was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Mark Mason Grabowski is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Mr.
Thank you, Your
Grabowski,
Honor.
I'm so sorry for the loss of your father.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome, and thank you for your time here today.
Good day.
Okay.
Ms. Paul, you're excused. I call cause number 511063 in the state of Colleen A. Paisley, an application of probate of will and letters testamentary. Mr. Piggy, are you ready to proceed?
We're ready, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Ms. Rabble, were you sworn in earlier?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed.
Okay, could you please state your full name for the court?
Yes, Nancy Patricia Robble.
And what was your relationship to the decedent, Colleen A. Paisley?
Daughter.
And did your mother pass away on August 4th, 2021 in Harris County, Texas at the age of 93 years?
Yes, she did.
And so 4 years have not elapsed since the date of her passing?
No.
Was your mother domiciled and did she have a fixed place of residence in Harris County at the time of her death?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Now you've seen a document which purports to be your mother's last will and testament dated September 30th, 1994.
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, we would request that the court take judicial notice that the original of the last will and testament of Colleen A. Paisley is in the custody of the court.
Yes, the court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. Thank you.
Mr. Bell, to the best of your knowledge, was this will ever revoked by your mother?
No.
Okay. Did she ever adopt, or any children born to or adopted by her after the making of the will?
No.
Was any marriage of your mother dissolved after the making of the will, whether by divorce, annulment, or a declaration that the marriage was void?
No.
Does the will name the state of Texas, a governmental agency of the state of Texas, or any charitable organization as a devisee?
No.
And there is necessity for administration of this estate, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
But this is not a taxable estate.
Correct.
Now, the will named Paul D. Paisley to serve without bond or other security as independent executor, but he predeceased your mother on March 23rd, 2006. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But the will named you to serve as substitute or successor independent executor without bond or other security.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. And you are qualified, not disqualified, from serving as independent executor of this estate, receiving letters testamentary.
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, we are requesting that the last will and testament of Colleen A. Paisley be admitted to probate, and that letters testamentary issued to Nancy Patricia Rebel, and that because this is a non-taxable estate, that appraisers be waived.
Thank you. Ms. Rebel, I'm truly sorry for your loss.
Thank you. You're
welcome. Thank you for your time today.
Sure.
After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Colleen A. Paisley dated September 30th, 1994 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Nancy Patricia Rebel was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Nancy Patricia Rebel is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. Finding the order now, Mr. Piggy, and thank you both for your time today and your excuse.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. I call cause number 508971 in the estate of Barbara Murphy Moore, aka Barbara Murphy, aka Barbara Moore. Application of probate of wills and letters of testamentary. Mr. Murphy, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
And all of your witnesses have been sworn in today?
I'm not sure. Miss Ruth and Mr. Moore, have you been sworn in?
Yes.
I have not.
Okay, Mr. Moore, I'll do that right now. If you'll raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Murphy.
Your Honor, we'll call Miss Ruth first. Miss Ruth, could you please state your name for the court?
Yes, Tiffany Moore Ruth.
And the decedent in this case, Barbara Murphy Moore, was your mother, correct?
Yes.
And she passed away on June the 13th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
And at the time that she passed away, she was a resident of Harris County and had a domicile in Houston, Texas, correct?
Correct.
4 years have not elapsed since the date of her death, correct?
Correct.
And you have provided to the court an original will dated December 16th of 2015, is that correct?
Yes.
At the time that your mother executed that will in 2015, was she over the age of 18 and of sound mind?
Yes.
Your Honor, we ask that you take judicial notice of the original will on file.
Or takes judicial notice of the original will on file.
Okay. Ms. Ruth, does a necessity exist to the administration of the estate?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, was your mother's will ever revoked?
No.
And in the will, it does not devise to the state or any governmental entity or charitable organization any gift or devise. Is that correct?
That is correct. It does not.
Okay. After the will was executed, there were no children born or adopted by your mother. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And at the time that she executed the will, she was not married.
Correct.
And following the execution of the will, she did not become married or dissolve any other marriage. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the will names you, Tiffany M. Ruth, and your brother Donald D. Moore Jr. as to serve as independent co-executors. Is that correct?
Yes.
And are you qualified to serve in that capacity?
Yes.
Your Honor, that's all that I have for this witness, and I'll call Mr. Moore.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Moore, did you hear the questions that I asked to your sister regarding your mother's will, the date of death, and her domicile at the time of death?
I did.
And do you agree with the answers that she provided?
I do.
Okay. Let's see. Are you qualified to serve in the capacity of co-independent executor?
I am.
Your Honor, at this time, we would ask that the court approve and admit the will to probate and to appoint Mr. Moore and Ms. Ruth as independent co-executors to serve without bond. And this is a small estate, so we would request that the appraisers be waived.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Barbara Murphy Moore, aka Barbara Murphy, aka Barbara Moore, dated December 16, 2015, constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Tiffany Moore Ruth and Donald D. Moore Jr. were named in the will to serve as independent co-executors. The will is admitted to probate, and Tiffany Moore Ruth and Donald D. Moore Jr. are appointed independent co-executors to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. Thank you, Ms. Ruth and Mr. Moore, for your time today, and I really am sorry for the loss of your loved one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Mr. Murphy, I'm signing the order presently, and you may be excused. Thank you. I call cause number 512810 in the estate of Marcel F. Daskudier III on application of probative will and letters testamentary. Mr. or Ms. Carlisle?
Yes, Your Honor. I'll be providing the testimony.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is Jamie Carlisle, and I represent the applicant, Patricia Ann Dastug, the surviving spouse of the decedent, Marcel F. Dastug III. Marcel F. Dastug III died on December 21st, 2022 in Cypress, Harris County, Texas, at the age of 83, and 4 years have not elapsed since the date of his death. The court has jurisdiction and venue over the estate, and that the decedent was domiciled and had a fixed place of residence here in Harris County at the time of his death. To the best of my knowledge, the decedent died testate. His will was signed September 1st, 1998, and he also had a codicil dated June 16th, 2014. Both the will and the first codicil were self-proved administration of this estate. And to the best of my knowledge, the will and the codicil filed for probate were never revoked by Marcel F. Dastug III. The will does not name a state, governmental agency, charitable organization as a devisee. And after the date of the will and both the codicil, no child was born to or adopted by the decedent, and no marriage of the decedent was ever dissolved after the will or after the codicil was made. Decedent's will and first codicil dated June 16th, 2014, named Patricia Ann Dastug to serve as independent executor. And to the best of my knowledge, Patricia Ann Dastug is not disqualified by law from accepting letters testamentary or from serving as executor. So, Your Honor, we're asking the court to admit Marcel F. Dastug III's will and codicil into probate, to appoint Patricia Ann Dastug as independent executor to serve without bond, that appraisers be waived because this is a non-taxable estate, and that the court take judicial notice that the will and the codicil originals of both are in the court's possession.
The court takes judicial notice of the original will and codicil on file, and after hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Marcel F. Dastug III, dated September 1, 1998, and codicil dated June 16, 2014, constitute a valid will and codicil. Further, the court finds that Patricia Ann Dastigue was named in both the will and the codicil to serve as independent executor. The wills and codicil is admitted to probate, and Patricia Ann Dastigue is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of a appraiser. Finding that right now, Ms. Carlisle, and thank you for your time, and you may be excused.
Thank you so much, Your Honor.
You are welcome. I call cause number 510-895 in the estate of General Hugh Ford on application of probate of wills and letters testamentary. Mr. Jewett, are you ready to proceed?
Jason Hanna here on behalf of Attorney of Record Robert Jewett.
Jason Handy, all right. And are you testifying
Yes.
on behalf?
Yes,
Mr.
Judge.
Jewett? Oh, right, and you were sworn in. Oh, okay. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Let's see. My name is Jason Hanna, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant to probate, Gloria Jean Ford Creighton. General Hugh Ford died on August 22nd, 2022, at the age of 88 years. At the time of his death, decedent was a resident of this county. I am now looking at the document dated July 21st, 1999, which purports to be General Hugh Ford's last will and testament. I do recognize the document on screen. That's the order. Apologies. We do ask that the court take judicial notice that the original will has been lodged with the court.
Yes, the court takes judicial notice that the original will is on file.
On the date that the will was signed, decedent was of sound mind and at least 18 years of age. To the best of my knowledge, the will was validly executed and never revoked, nor were there any codicils or additions made to this will. To the best of my knowledge, the will was validly executed. No contest to the will has been filed, and after the date of the will, no children were born to or adopted by General Hugh Ford. The will appoints the applicant, Gloria Jean Ford Creighton, as the independent executor, and as far as I know, the applicant is qualified to serve as such and to accept letters testamentary. No state governmental agency of the state or charitable organization is named by the will as a devicee, and a necessity for administration does exist in this estate, Your Honor. Therefore, we respectfully request that the application to probate the will of General Hugh Ford is approved by the court, and that Gloria Jean Ford Creighton be named the independent executor serving without bond, and that since this is a non-taxable estate, that appraisers also be waived.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of General Hugh Ford dated July 21st, 1999 constitute a valid will. Further, the court finds that Gloria Jean Ford Creighton was named as executor in the will. The will is admitted to probate, and Gloria Jean Ford Creighton is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity appraisers.
Excellent. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon. You are excused.
You have a great one as well, Judge. Take care.
Thanks.